This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Politics. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. Joining us this week via Zoom is Clarington Mayor Adrian Foster. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing?
Oh, just fine. Thank you for having me. I'm telling people these days that any of the problems that I have are first world problems.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, let's get to it. Lots to talk about today. Most recently, some good news filtering your way in the form of money from the Ontario government. Over $2 million. I said 2.1 and you corrected me. It was $2.135 million.
Right, and if there are a couple of dollars and pennies on the end, we're taking them. We did. So I had a call from both of our MPPs yesterday, Lindsay Park and David Piccini, letting us know this is a COVID relief funding, if you will, to help municipalities cover the costs, or at least some of the costs that they've incurred during COVID. So as you know, revenues in a number of areas have gone down significantly. Our costs, true of any business, our costs have gone up. And as we reopen, we will see those costs continue to go up. So that 2.1 is helping us keep the community safe, all the things that we need to do, still provide the services, and it'll also help us the things that we've been doing to try to support the local economy as well. So it is great news. It is always great talking to either one of our MPPs, and they're doing a great job. Hard to complain too bitterly when you get a phone call like that.
Now, is this money that's just coming from the Ontario government, or is that part of the federal money?
So it is part of the federal money as well, and there will be, for municipalities, the lower tier municipalities that don't need to worry about things like transit, a lot of the social services, we aren't hit as badly as Durham region, for example, on that. But there will be a second phase for municipalities where this did not cover enough of the costs. There'll be an ability for municipalities to come back and say, thank you, but we need a bit more help.
Okay, so let's talk about where this money is going more specifically, towards personal protective equipment and the ongoing need to provide that for your employees.
So it's beyond employees. So we, in mid-July, we reopened with restrictions, Town Hall, and we are slowly, and when we think we can do so safely, reopening our rec facilities. But if you think of, and we're true of any business, so if the business is charging a smidge more, people will understand that the amount of cleaning materials. So when you come into our buildings, we need you to feel as if we're doing everything we can and we're keeping you safe. So it's everything from additional staff time. We've had staff members run around, wiping things down on a regular basis. If you come into the councillors' offices, we've got little stickers and tags showing what has been cleaned, which office has been cleaned. You won't see it over my shoulder, but I've got a spray bottle of disinfectant and paper towel that if someone comes into the office when they leave, we're all cleaning our offices down. Additional staff. So again, if you come into Town Hall, there is a screening. We have a staff member there. So all of that stuff. And then if I'm looking at the rec facilities, I'm going to guess we'll be able to allow perhaps a quarter of the people that would normally have taken advantage of some of the activities. You've got a quarter of the revenue coming in and more expenses keeping it clean. So we're doing our very best to keep everyone safe and comfortable at the same time.
Have there been any difficulties getting that PPE and cleaning supplies?
We did all right. So even things are far better now than they were a couple of months ago. But Canadian Tire was one that stepped up big time to make sure that we had the stuff that we needed in the offices. So one of the things people don't appreciate is we shut down rec facilities, the library, but in a lot of ways, I'm going to call it business as unusual. So a lot of people working from home and all of the things that we needed to put in place to keep staff and again the public safe, but largely we had to carry on all of the business that we did. So the public couldn't come into town hall, but the services were still being offered. If people needed applications taken care of or bylaws, complaints, that all carried on. So the PPE was important, and again, we'll give kudos to Canadian Tire for Canadian Tire in Bowmanville for reaching out and making sure that we had the stuff that we needed.
You mentioned revenue loss from, the community centers and services that you normally would offer that people could partake in. Many municipalities are really finding they're stuck with a huge deficit. What about Clarington?
So I'm happy to say I don't have the numbers yet. A report is coming forward, but in dialogue with Mr. Pym is our Director of Finance, Andy Allison, our CAO, and we've been looking at this on an ongoing basis. Clarington's in pretty good shape. Typically we will need to rebuild some of the reserves that we had, but over the last number of years we've been building reserves in case, for those emergencies. That's given us a lot of flexibility, but thus far we're doing okay. I think a lot of the costs we're going to see again are the costs moving forward as we fully reopen. So a limited amount of ice is available now today. We've got the pool in Orono open, but we need to look at that. At some point, everything is going to be open, and it's going to be far more expensive to provide the services. But we're doing okay. Okay.
So now it has been several weeks since Durham moved into to phase 3, allowing businesses to cautiously reopen. Most have. What are you hearing from the business community in Clarington?
So the business community is quite concerned with all of the things that we are, and on a consistent basis. So they were worried about the reopening. They were worried about how quickly reopening may or may not happen. And we've cut it to a bi-weekly meeting where the MPPs, the MPs, and the representatives of all of the BIAs, we're on the phone to get information from them directly from business, and hear what they had to do. So we all understand that a significant second wave will be devastating. A lot of businesses that are hanging on. In a lot of cases, you've had revenues cut in half and expenses going up. So if you get your hair done, half of the chairs are shut down because there isn't 6 foot separation. My daughter-in-law has a massage clinic. Again, the limited number of people that they can see and the additional time to clean in the middle, their revenues have dropped significantly. Many of the businesses are doing okay. A second wave, will make it exceptionally difficult. We're hearing a number of cases where businesses that were on the edge of the owners were considering whether they needed to be open if they're looking at retirement. They simply said, we're done. So I know a couple of cases of that. I know a couple of cases where, the business owners were wondering about keeping a number of locations open, if they should have one or not. It'll be interesting moving forward. So where people can, and the Premier has been out about this. The province, you'll see me starting to post pictures of stay safe, shop local. But the local businesses, these are the folks that step up every time. There are friends, there are neighbors, there are family. If charities need help, it's the local business that steps up every single time. They need us to step up. The servers in restaurants, and I was surprised to hear that it sounds like a lot of people are being very grumpy with the servers. I thought everyone would be thrilled to sit outside. But those servers have had a fraction of their income. If you can, think of tipping maybe a little bit more to try to help them out. But for those of us with the ability, we need to step up, support local business and folks that are working locally.
Really grumpy with the servers?
I had a chat in a patio in Curtis, and the server was talking about how many, I'll just say it, it wasn't grumpy, how many miserable people complain. And it absolutely astounded me. I've been out a couple of times, but I'm sitting outside in the sun, under an umbrella, having lunch that I didn't have to put together and a beer. For me, it's almost impossible for me to be miserable or grumpy under those circumstances. But yeah, I would have thought that people were overjoyed for that experience. And sometimes we forget to say thank you, or we forget to tell people how much we appreciate the experiences that we're used to having. So maybe it's just a point of expressing that a bit more.
And maybe I was just going to say, maybe it's just unfortunately, general frustration. I've heard this said, and I'm fond of saying it myself. We may be tired of the virus, but the virus is not tired of us. And that whole frustration, I think people have to remember not to let it boil over and to take it out on others, right?
Yeah, it is. And I can tell you, we, like everyone, we did a staycation, which isn't the same, right, as, plans on going away, the ability to travel, just recently entering the stage 3, but to sit down in a restaurant, or if you're having a drink somewhere, the buzz going on about you, parades, all of that sort of thing. So there's a lot missing out of our lives. It'll be nice when we get back, but you're absolutely correct. The virus doesn't care. It is still out there. It's still in the community, and we have to come back to. We cannot afford a big second wave. We just can't. The province and the feds just don't have the
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Mayor. We have to go for a quick break.
Alrighty,
more to come after this.
Yes.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
September 20th, 2007.
January the 9th, 2003.
December 14th, 2013.
On August the 13th, 2009, Dr. Ian McGilvray and his team saved my life.
Too many people die every year waiting for an organ donation. Please, let's eliminate the wait list.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the community billboard.
Well, is it a bird? Is it a plane? You never know what I'm going to paint until you tune in to watch me, Mark Rice, the artist, paint an acrylic painting from start to finish in 1 hour here on Rogers TV.
And welcome back to Talk Politics. Our guest this week is Clarington Mayor Adrian Foster. Mayor, continuing to talk about the effect of COVID on our economy and what it has done to the municipalities. Let's move on to the region at Regional Council. A lot happening there. Let's start with affordable housing. The region asking the government, I guess, for the funding to move ahead on more affordable housing and the need for that.
Yeah. So the region in the last couple of years, and there's been as everyone knows, significant change. But folks maybe want to pay a bit more attention to the region. Typically, we focus on the local municipalities. But there is an absolute change in attitude where, we have been pretty good at getting reports and putting them on a shelf and looking back. The affordable housing file is one of those. So there were a couple of issues on the table at the last regional council meeting. One of those moving forward with affordable housing. So that'll be coming up to Brock. There's funding that is fully anticipated, so nothing out of the ordinary. But actually moving forward with more affordable housing units, which we've identified for years, something that we need, but we haven't done a great job at creating them. And then as well, the not-for-profit, Durham Region not-for-profit housing. If you've been to their offices in Oshawa, you see that they have a demonstration of one of these C-tainer units. We've heard about them forever. C-tainer units, that's been turned into a tiny home. So they moved ahead with that. Again, dialogue for years. They finally went out and did that. And Regional Council, pending approval and how our finances are, will be building some of those or retasking. I don't know if you call it building a C-tainer, but we're finally getting the rubber to hit the road on that and a number of other issues. So people may want to glance at those regional agendas and see what's going on. It's nice to see that tangible action.
Well, as you said, the region has identified the need for more affordable housing for years. Why didn't they move sooner on it? Why now?
So I'll choose my words carefully. I think there are a couple of things. One is, the feds in the province have stepped up, need to do so more, frankly, if we all agree. So if you look at what happened in British Columbia, for example, they brought a huge number of units on. The province identified that as one of their key priorities. Now, COVID throws wrenches into all of this, just because of money available. But there's been a significant change in leadership at the region. About half of Regional Council is new. Chair Henry is doing a fantastic job. We've got a number of new commissioners, the CAO in a new place. So I think maybe different expectations of a new council and and a different way of doing things perhaps from that senior management team. So it's really heartening, to see some action coming out of the work. We were talking earlier, and one of the things is we had a lot of red tape within the region. So departments, things would be passed out of budget, and them actually getting the money and the go-ahead to do exactly what council had said do. So we had a delegation of authority. We rewrote that bylaw, and that is us cutting our own internal red tape, where instead of staff reporting, to finance 17 times, I might be exaggerating a bit.
No, I'm sure you're not exaggerating.
Well, it might be a little bit, but probably not as much as I'd like to believe. But it's just giving staff the ability to do what council has already told them to do. And that's pretty broad sweeping. And if you know staff at Durham Region, you'll hear how frustrating it was, even dealing with some of the rules within the region. So that is something, that's a big yawn for most people. If you look at the report, a huge number of charts end to end, and so talks and so and does it based on this signature. But despite the fact that it's a huge yawn, it is a significantly different and better way of doing business within the region. So no one would ever pick that report up and go, yay! But you know, there are a lot of staff at the region, you know, that are saying, yay! So it's neat stuff.
Enough red tape will grind business to a halt, will it not?
It will. You know, it just makes it so much more difficult, and it absolutely kills morale. So, you know, if a project has made it to the budget and gotten approval, you know, by the time that happens, so many people have worked on it, and so many other projects have been pushed off the table. We never have the ability to do all of the things that we would like to do. So if you think of the staff members that have a project and have gotten it that far, so you get approval, you know, and then you know, because of the internal mechanisms, you need to continue to fight to get things going. So beyond making it easier, ultimately faster and cheaper, you know, the satisfaction that staff should see in finally seeing stuff move ahead is a big point. We shouldn't be fighting ourselves, right, on getting good things done. So that was great.
Also, a significant movement in increasing the number of mental health nurses available to go out with DRPS.
Yeah, so a step forward. We, you know, this, I'm not going to say came out of the blue, but it's very recent. You know, we had that come to council. So funding for 3 additional mental health nurses doing that, and we're recognizing the challenge in the community. But you know, again, you'll step back, and you know, with the challenges that are going on now, highlighted through the Black Lives Matter, and rightly so. But we've known that mental health has been underfunded. Again, it's one of those things for years. You know, we know that there's a challenge, and this is something that is forcing us to move forward. I think we talked the last time in the last budget, the last couple. There have been resources in DRP for sex trade workers, and these young, they're not even women, in a lot of cases, girls that are being recruited. And, you know, we know that that's an issue. We've been working on that. Additional funds went, but on, you know, on some of the things that should absolutely be key priorities. I can't imagine, you know, I understand some of these girls, you know, as young as 13 years old. Can you imagine the devastation to the family if that happened to your child? And do you think, you know, maybe in a tiny bit of taxpayer money resourcing, keeping kids out of that, protecting, you know, your child or friends or family, should that be a priority? And yeah, absolutely. So that actually is, you know, again, another example. And, you know, you can feel good about a lot of the stuff that's happening there.
When you talk about the mental health nurses, so 3 new mental health nurses, given I guess the amount of calls that DRPS gets for mental health concerns, should we not have been hiring more? Is there going to be a next step and more resources?
I think so we've all heard about defunding the police. I think we are going to have a look at what services the police provide and if they should be providing them. I don't like defunding as a description, although the people that came up with that word very purposely did. I think we can all agree that we are heading to an end goal. There's a lot of disagreement as to what the best way of doing that is. But you know, we've got the automated speed enforcement that is coming out in the next couple of weeks in Durham region, and some red light cameras. Moving forward X number of years down the road, does it make sense for a police officer, you know, who is rightly well paid, with $100,000 of equipment, by the time, you know, you've got the cruisers kitted out, does it make sense for someone with that skill set and the equipment level to be writing traffic tickets? I'm not sure. And, you know, certainly if you look at Europe, what Europe is doing, could we better use those resources and ultimately save some money on that? You know, do some of the files that the police have, and they've sort of gone there because there hasn't been a choice, or we've just thought that way. Should they live somewhere else? And maybe the answer is yes as we move ahead. A number of conference calls that I've been on, there's a question of, we need the police to make us feel safe, but have we asked everyone if they feel safe? So if you're suffering from domestic abuse, do you feel safe? No. Should resources go to that? Well, I think the answer is yes. How do we do that? So I think we're going to be reviewing an awful lot of things, and maybe, part of COVID, and again, we talk about mental health, that comes to the forefront. Maybe we as a community, and this isn't us as politicians, but as a community, need to reevaluate what's important to us and what we need to fund. Okay,
we've only got about a couple of minutes left, less than 2 minutes. I want to a quick plug here for your golf tournament coming up. You've moved it from, originally it was July, now to September. You're going to go ahead with that.
We are. So September 17th is the golf tournament. Community Care will be the recipient this year. So we pick in advance. We pick the recipients from all of the net proceeds on that. Any charitable organization, folks, if you can help them, they haven't been able to do their tournaments. They haven't been able to do their galas. If there's a charity that you have helped in the past, and maybe it just you haven't had the presence of mind, help them. They do a huge amount of community good, and they are suffering, no ifs, ands, or buts. So yeah, anyone that can come out, if they phone into the office, we will be delighted for sponsorships or folks that want to play.
So call your office. How do people get information?
905
yep.
623-3379. That's just the front desk. Or the email. And beyond the golf tournament, I mean, we encourage interaction with the community. mayor@clarington.net. And that is always the best way if you're sending emails, but just mayor@clarington.net if people want to reach out for golf tournament or otherwise, and we will get you directed, trust me, to the right people.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because, believe it or not, we are out of time. Mayor Foster, thanks so much once again for joining us, and thanks to our viewers for joining us. Until next time, I'm Deborah Hutchison. Stay safe, everyone.
Deborah, thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations. Until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Hey, did you know?
More than 4,500 Canadians are waiting for an organ transplant right now.
Right now. 4,500.
People are